The dividing thunder of Liwei Keqing. Keqing. Today we'll be talking about the information on the Yuhang. Keqing is a playable electro character in Genshin Impact. As the Yuhang of the Liwei Keqing, she is someone who seeks her own answers instead of idly letting chaos run amok in Liwei. She chooses her own path, with her own power and ability instead of letting the gods determine her fate. Keqing is a female character in Genshin Impact. Her weapon is a sword, and her vision element is Electro. Her birthday is November 20th, and her constellation is Tula Seminary. She comes from Liwei and has an affiliation with the Liwei Keqing. Her special dish is survival grilled fish, a variant of the grilled tigerfish. And she has become a playable character on September 28th, 2020. Her determined voice actors for the 4 localized issues of Genshin Impact are Kelly Mills in English, Yin Ye in Chinese, Eri Kitamura in Japanese, and Libo Hee in Korean. She has 2 titles, one is Driving Thunder, and the other is Yuhang of the Liwei Keqing. Keqing has fair skin and dark animist eyes. Her oval cat-like pupils featuring diamond-shaped markings on her iris. Her light purple hair tied into wrist-length twin tails, topped by a small Odango-style buns resembling cat ears. There is also a small braid running alongside of her bangs. She wears a pale lavender top with a high velvet collar and ruffled back dark skirt. That's blue, too, layered under a deep velvet overcoat. The opening of her overcoat is marked by a golden ornament, which has a white flowers and purple and gold ascended feathers attached. The pattern of the feathers resembles the ones on that dangle on her back, long sleeves. In the addition, she wears a golden hairpin and a tassel choker with a dark gloves and a lavender trim. Her outfit, Piercing Thunderbolt, is described to be a formidable-looking dress made using luxurious materials. The Yuhang of the Liwei Keqing, Keqing is a workaholic and is subject to pressure even at a young age. One might attribute her to perfectionism when preparing to work, causing many of their employees to resign, but in reality, she has a strong sense of responsibility and treacherous inherit from her grandfather. Keqing, unlike most of Liwei, is a great skeptic. She believes that humans should deal with their own problems, but it is all changed when the Lord of Geo retired from his duties, passing it on to the Keqing. She gained a new respect towards Rex Lapis himself, realizing the manager of his work to govern Liwei. As part of her so-called self-reflection, which is in reality a way to hide the newfound respect she has for Rex Lapis, she keeps memorabilia of Rex Lapis. She was also a skeptic of visions, viewing it as both a challenge and an insult once tried to destroy it, all of her attempts failing. She then realized the various uses of her vision and learned to appreciate them. Shopping is a valuable pastime of Yue, and she also enjoys eating golden shrimp balls. Keqing may be an uptight and imitating character, but she cares and respects each of her companions close to her. It's only because of her outward image that she's unable to express how she truly feels. Young line swordsmanship is Keqing's normal attack. The normal attack performs up to 5 ripple strikes, while the charge attack consumes a certain amount of stamina to unleash 2 ripple sword strikes. And her plummeting attack plunges from midair to strike the ground below, damaging opponents along the path and dealing AoE damage upon impact. Stellar Restoration is Keqing's elemental skill. It hurls a lightning stiletto that annihilates her opponents like a swift thunder. When the stiletto is hit with a target, it deals electro damage to opponents in the small AoE and places a mark on the spot hit. With using hold to adjust the direction in which the stiletto shall be thrown, stiletto is thrown by the hold attack, while can be suspended in mid-air, allowing Keqing to jump to them when using Stellar Restoration a second time. With Lightning Stiletto, she uses Stellar Restoration again, or uses a charge attack while in the restoration lasts. It will clear the stiletto mark and produce different effects. If she uses this acceleration again, she will blink to the location of the mark and unleash one slash attack that deals AoE electric damage. When blinking, the stiletto will drill from a holding attack. Keqing can leap across obstacles terrain. If Keqing uses a charge attack, she will ignite a series of thundering cuts at the mark location, dealing AoE electro damage. Starward Sword is Keqing's elemental burst. Keqing unleashes the power of lightning, dealing electro damage in a AoE. She then blends into the shadow of her blade, striking a series of thunderclap blows to nearby opponents, simultaneously that deal multiple instances of electro damage. The final attack deals a massive damage to the AoE electro damage. Thundering Penance is Keqing's first Ascension passive skill. After recasting Stellar Restoration, while a Lightning Stiletto is present, Keqing's weapon gains an electro infusion for 5 seconds. Aristocratic Dignity is Keqing's 4th Ascension passive skill. When casting Starward Sword, Keqing's crit rate is increased by 15%, and her energy recharge is increased by 15%. This effect lasts for 8 seconds. Lance Overseer is Keqing's utility passive skill. When dispatched on an expedition in Leeway, time consumed is reduced by 25%. Rex Lapis has brought prosperity and plenty to Leeway Harbor, and his rule and majesty have long passed into show and song, much to the delight of the people. But for someone in such proximity to a god, Keqing seems to lack the requisite respect the most. Let's be real here. But does Morax really know everything? The Leeway Keqing deals with day-to-day happenings in the harbor, whether great or small, while Rex Lapis only descends once a year. Well, history has shown that following Morax's lead has been the right call. Keqing believes that humans should have their own pride, and that their views deserve equal importance. As such, she often advocates different options from Rex Lapis, and is the first to put such views into practice. Her radical actions have seen stellar results, but they have also attracted murmurings of opposing among those devoted to Rex Lapis. As Keqing sees it, such opposition are the excuses of those who have grown competent under the aegis of their deity, and who couldn't consider the future of humanity on their own accord. But someone must walk on the front line of the approach and create a new path with their own hands, and the Yuhei star is determined to do her part in the endeavor. Keqing is the daughter of an illusionist in Liyue family, with a proud lineage, and she is better acquainted than most with the influence that Rex Lapis has over the people of Liyue. Once every few years, in an almost cyclical fashion, a major rushfeld hits Liyue's economy after the Rite of Dissension. Once Rex Lapis' new policies are announced, some families celebrate while others grieve. The poor hope it will offer them the chance to finally make their fortunes, while the wealthy pray that theirs will not be swept away in the changing tides. Rather than carefully analyzing the economic climate, merchants are more prone to making investments based on belief. And in present-day Liyue, this is a forgettable strategy. Rex Lapis is a powerful deity, and he can rely on all things. But Keqing has her reservations about all this. What if one day Rex Lapis stops funding his duty? Then what will become of the people of Liyue? Liyue's present prosperity is akin to the magnificent sandcastle on the beach. Humanity does not have the luxury of deciding when the tide will come in. However, Keqing has been unable to garner majority support for her views. From most people's perspective, life is but a brief, insignificant moment in Liyue's long history, and there is no point in working oneself up into an external quality. This perspective, as far as Keqing is concerned, is a lazy and cowardly one that denies there is any value at all in the existence of the human race. If humans really have no value, Keqing retorts, then why should we expect the gods to care about us so much? Unwilling to compose on her beliefs, she casts her skepticism on everything from Rex Lapis' loving kindness to the people's laziness, to the way the society is run. Finally, the day came of the new famous speech at the Rite of Dissension. Rex Lapis has watched over Liyue for a millennium, but what about the next millennium? What about the next 10 or the next 100 millennia? How long are we expecting that status quo to last? On hearing these words, Rex Lapis burst into heavy thunder, but as for what exactly he was laughing about, only Rex Lapis himself knows. Some may be able to keep up with Keqing's forward-thinking ideas, but none can keep up with her piece of work. Perhaps in their efforts to become a role model for her people, she demands of herself to work 10 times harder than the average person, and she couldn't abide by the measure of any laziness or inefficiency. Humans' abilities and lifespan are more limited than the gods. This means that one has no hope of living to see the day when humans replace the gods as masters of our own universe, if one allows empathy and inhalation to slow themselves down. Because of this same mindset, she is never able to scrutinize her work with the people around her. Whatever the task, she does not rest until the job is done. And when something should take half the month to resolve, she will pull out all the stops to try and get it turned around within the next 48 hours. Additionally, Keqing's notion of compelling something is far more ambitious than simply getting it finished. She will make sure that every relevant detail is tied up too. To the outside observer, she seems to be both highly efficient and a perfectionist. But not everyone is so self-motivated as Keqing. No assistant she hires ever makes it past the 3-month mark. She has received countless remonstrations urging her to be less impatient. But she meets each one with a stern rejection. Still, she has to the same extent come around to the idea that high staff turnover is itself a manifestation of insignificance, and made some consequences accordingly. Today, if you encounter an instance of Keqing dealing with some matter 3, 4, or even 5 years ahead of time, don't be alarmed. This is completely normal. Keqing gave them a bit of a head start, but she'll be catching up before long. Yesterday's experience make them stronger today. This is one of the principles Keqing lives by. Spending all of one's time at Eugene Terrace means seeing the same old things day after day, but to be able to think and act swiftly as lightning, one needs a huge amount of experience to draw on. So if Keqing sees something that needs doing, why, she'll do it herself. For example, she once served for 2 months as a liberator to better decide how to refine a plan to improve their treatment. It's hard to imagine that this young lady, with so much authority vested in her, has pulled carts that a chasm remained Earth at the South Wharf and waited tablets at small diners. In addition to working, she also once took the opportunity to gather evidence with which to report a powerful individual known for his abuses. He was apprehended without any clue as to how he has been exposed, but when he was brought to the interrogation chamber by the millennium, there he saw a striking young lady dressed in fine robes. "Hey, haven't we met somewhere before?" The words felt foolish the moment they rolled off his tongue, even to him. Eventually, especially because the millennium then introduced her as fellows. "This is the Yu Hung of the Liwei Qixing. Know our peace and keep your distance." Rex Lapis' departure has put Liwei Harbor through a great deal of hardship. All the duties Rex once fulfilled have been taken up by the Qixing and the 8 tribes. Now that the divine ruler is a thing of the past, the old structures left behind can simply be continued wholesale. But to establish new laws for Liwei, whose history spans several thousand years, is so to not mean feat. At first, Keqing was incredibly enthusiastic about the task, having long prepared for this day when she might finally show her mettle. But several months in, she was still struck on a single task: land infrastructure, and it was driving her up a wall. No matter how hard she struggled, the mountain of tasks was like a quagmire. She was making a difference, yes, but not nearly with as much ease as Rex Lapis. "Why can I only do this much? Why can't I do it better?" Of course, she has long understood the wherefores here. Her lack of respect for the gods had somehow received her recollection all the same. Yes, but that didn't mean that she was ready to simply replace them. But she was still Keqing, resolute and treacherous. From the day on, she shut herself in, studying classics of various kinds to learn all that she needed, placing herself lowest. She accepted all that she had hitherto not known as open arms. During this period, she gained a certain calm, slowly discarding the oblivion she has long held against Rex Lapis. They were both working for the good of Liyue after all, and the two people who love the same thing need to be on opposite sides. She also seemingly came to the understanding concerning the smile Rex Lapis has given her during the rite of dissection. It was, Keqing now believes, an expression of acknowledgement and acceptation. She hasn't lost any of her forceful and divisive manner, no, but sometimes when she feels lost, she will stop to think, what will Rex Lapis do at a moment such as this? Keqing, who has decided a large proportion of her energies to Liyue Harbor, interludes in the unexpected pastime when she can spare a moment, shopping. On her days off, she changes into ordinary clothes, contacts a few close friends, and enjoys a day of strolling around Flame Slope and Geo Walk, just enjoying the act of buying things. After Rex Lapis' departure, Keqing managed to maintain the methods of decomposition despite her brusque schedule, though the one suitable difference, on one of her shopping trips, she happened upon a small and unremarkable stall that sold cute Rex Lapis clay figures with tiny bodies and big heads. Persuading her friends to visit the silk store opposite it, she approached the small stall, took a figure in her hand, and began to examine it. When she knew that she didn't have much time, so after glancing around to make sure that no one was watching, she paid for it, picked it up, and packed it away for her prize in own swift single moment. But no sooner had she placed the figurine into her bag and have a sigh of relief than one of her friends, Silk Bonners in Faux, tapped her on the shoulder. In the end, all that was received, her friends were quite curious. Wasn't Keqing a skeptic among skeptics? Why would she buy one of these? For introspection, of course. There's nothing wrong with self-reflection, is there? She said, and it will be convincing too. If Keqing didn't already have the entire decade of Rex Lapis self-reflection memorabilia. Though she is of normal birth, Keqing tries to keep her luxuries to the bare minimum that would benefit her position as one of the Liyue Keqing. And when she is outside the borders of the pernicious city, she will often head deep to the uninhabited areas to strengthen her knowledge and sharpen her will. She has experienced countless challenges, but unlike backpackers and adventurers, she does not bring anything with her but her hairpin and her sword, as long as it is infused with electro. A hairpin can become a knife with an unmatched sharpness. Cutting grass, chopping firewood, skinning game, and carving bone are as well within the capabilities. If faced with a drop of great height, she also will need the pin into the ground, tie restraints to it, and ripple down. It also serves as an incredibly insensitive security device. When camping out, any unusual movements nearby will cause it, when tripped over and placed particularly thunder to the ground to alert and awaken Keqing immediately. It can be used to fish. Keqing just hurls it into the water when she's fishing, when she's feeling piggish, and there will always be a few fish that will be knocked out by the electric shock. And of course, finding a stick to grill the fish on is not a problem either. Some narrow-minded folk who have ridiculed Keqing's hairpin for being old and worn, but this does not anger her. Indeed, she considers it a point of pride. Its weather from it is what gives its charm. Keqing is likely a skeptic without equal when it comes to the value of visions. She knows that everything has its result of her own hard work, but that in the eyes of others, credit has been given instead of her vision. She once believed that in purple crystal had stolen the pride due to ordinary to her, and that it will both be a challenge and an insult from the gods. In fact, she has tried to destroy her vision countless times. She's left it in a huge fire for 3 days and 3 nights, ran over it with a minecart full of rocks, and has hurled it into the heights of the jade chamber. Unfortunately, she's never successful. With no options left and not wanting it to fall into the wrong hands, Keqing was forced to accept the vision as part of her life. With the passage of time, Keqing began to appreciate the vision. She realized that this item did not actually have any divine will impured within, and indeed had numerous practical uses, and as such chose to use it. The source of power is far less important than the character of its user. Regardless of how she may once have regarded it, Keqing's vision and its powers have become a part of her. Think the Archons, she hadn't destroyed it back then, or she have been regretted it for sure. Oh, the hardships of being a pragmatist. Keqing's name derives from the characters K, which can mean to carve, strict, and a moment. Qing, meaning green clear weather. In conjunction with her title Driving Thunder, Tiniku Ayu, sudden thunder and rapid rain, which may derive from the phrase refreshing like a rapid rain drives away the sudden thunder. Her name may be intended as clear weather in a moment or immediate clear skies. Another possible interception is that it refers to someone who brings clear skies by scrolling the clouds, or someone who makes days peaceful. Her constellation, Trula Seminary, is literally Latin for Mason's Trello. However, it has also been used to be translated for plumb line. Based on the constellation diagram, it is likely meant to mean that ledger. The plumb line is a tool used to construction to ensure that structures are vertical. With her Chinese constellation name, it means the gold in the plum, purple plum. Her title Yue is Jade Shining Tube. In the Chinese name for the star in the Big Dipper, named Epsilon Nusain Majorius Athli, consistent with the naming convention of members of the Lirui Keqing. Fact 1. Although many characters detect that Zhonglin is an exponential individual, Keqing is the only person aware of his true identity, who draws and exhibits the connection between Zhonglin and Rex Lapis in her voiceover about him. Fact 2. Her fighting style, known as the Yunlin swordsmanship, is a successor of an ancient martial arts school whose masters include Qi, according to the Chinese version. The description for Unmoving Kingstone mentions that there is an urban legend about Keqing saying that it took her 10 years of instant training to master the blade. The legend claims that one part of this training was to hack at the unmoving Kingstone until it resurfaced with a smooth and shining as a mirror. Fact 3. Keqing is seen wielding an unknown sword in her official art, but in the battle against Osio, she uses the sword called Lion's Roar. Fact 4. Keqing along with Fischl are part of the Honkai Impactors crossover with Genshin Impact as playable Valkyries. However, unlike Fischl, Keqing is served as an exclusive event character and will not be obtainable once the event ends, which when I'm making this is already over. And that is Keqing. Next time we'll be going over Chi-Chi. Yes, the zombie in the little T-pose munchkin. Running at first. I wanted to get it, but I used up all of my wishes, and now I'm stuck making these because I lost my motivation to play Genshin Impact and record it because it didn't go so well. But yeah, Keqing is next.